Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Ishura Season 1, Episode 7. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we have the opening of the episode where we have Yuna and Sojiro with some patrols. And it's this interesting kind of showcasing, like, the delicate balance and complicated situation that is Lithia and Horatia, where it's like, oh yeah, we're here on patrol because this is actually what Lithia wants us to do because of the bandits, but Horatia is the ones responsible for the bandits, but Lithia knows that we're responsible for the bandits, yet they still create this whole rigmarole because the captain believes like, oh, it's because they're trying to waste our resources and time by like draining us, by having us do all this. It's meant to just be menial tasks to kind of wear us down a little bit. Because it's like, yeah, we're both aware of everything. Lithia knows about Horatia sending the bandits, and they know that Lithia knows that they are the ones behind it. So it's this interesting, delicate balance. It kind of, especially the whole conversation about their plan for Lithia. Horatia, apparently, we don't know. That's always going to be that bias. It's like, oh, of course Horatia is going to paint themselves as the good guys. I guess because we all have that feeling in us where we all want to back the underdog in a fight, and Lithia seems like the underdog going up against the behemoth and Goliath that is Horatia. But this episode kind of makes you almost go like, is Terran on the right side of things? I mean, it might just be like that's so looking at things so binary. It's like, oh, good and evil, black and white. It's like, no, like that's always going to be, everyone's going to believe no one wants to be the villain of the story, so everyone's going to paint themselves as a hero. And is there a hero and villainous? It's like, no, it's just, it is what it is. But the reason why I was kind of diving into that and I thought was so interesting is the captain of that like little group was saying like, yeah, the original plan was we're going to let Lithia do its own thing. It was going to be its own autonomous state, which obviously it makes me think of like the Trail/Kaseki series, because there's a lot of that like division of like, oh, this place being an autonomous state trying to fight for independence. Then there's like the principalities and becoming an autonomous state or economic zone. It's just stuff like that. Like Trails in particular, I feel like the later games dive into it even more. Obviously, the Crossbow Saga arc, as well as the Ereboni arc. And Ereboni in particular really leans into that element of stuff. But yeah, I think stuff like that's so interesting from a story. Obviously, I'm sure there's real world parallels, but obviously keeping it anime-ish, keeping it in the realm of fiction, using Trails as a metric and as an analogy for that conversation about that stuff. But the sand and the line in the sand that was crossed that pushed it, so it's like no, we're not just gonna let Lithia be, is that they got the wyverns that crossed the line, because something so dangerous like that is without like outside of a minion like human control, like that was kind of like, oh, whoa, you're weaponizing yourself. Now we have an issue. We're going to let you be your own autonomous state, but it's like, no, we don't just want to be our autonomous state, we want to be completely free. But it's like, does Terran have other goals? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, what is her beef with Horatia? Like, what was the falling out that made her, because last episode Luna, I made that mistake before, Lana was kind of making the whole point of how most people are the reason why Terran's in the position that she's in. Like, so many people follow her wholeheartedly. They kind of put her up on the pedestal. She's said it time and time again. She's never given herself the title of the new demon king. That's other people that's getting her that moniker. She's never actually referred to herself by that pseudonym, but that's what other people do. So it makes you wonder, like, did people get tired of the way Horatia? I mean, why does any like country or group split off from any other group? It's just like, yeah, I'm tired of the way you run things. I want to be able to run things my way. But it's like, she was a 23rd general. I mean, you can rise through the ranks and eventually see the ugliness there. But I'm also wondering, like, is what Terran doing is it principles? Is it out of duty of feeling like you want to do what's best for the citizens? Or do you have your own personal beefs of why you're doing this? It's unclear. Because they also gave Lithia a grace period before. It's like, okay, after a certain point in time, you will end up rejoining a part of Horatia. But obviously, Terrans are not all about that. But all of a sudden, stuff pops off when Shulk and Hagure show up. Hagure is not even part of like a good chunk of the fight because it's Hagure. I mean, it's Shulk versus Sojiro, which they get the clashing, and it seems pretty even. But because Sojiro doesn't, from what we saw of the fight, Sojiro never lands a blow on Shulk. Shulk lands quite a few hits on him. He's like, oh yeah, is that really as fast as your swordsmanship can take you? Because it turns out like he damaged his like arm, and every other blow, Sojiro isn't able to keep up with his spearmanship. But at the very least, he's like, if I can predict his movements, I guess by his body movements, or at least predicting in the flow of battle, he's able to avoid any fatal blows. But he still gets caught a couple times. You know, it's so interesting because this is kind of what wanted, but it's like happening under complicated. So I don't know if she was planning on trying to throw him to the wolves, and now it's like, or once again, we don't know how much has changed between them getting brought in by Eurasia between episode 1 and episode 6 when he popped up again. We have no idea how much time frame passed, so maybe her opinion of Sojiro changed. What she wanted out of this has changed. I don't know. Obviously, she was terrified because there's so much death around her, and I'm sure it all traces back to what happened with the labyrinth and everything in episode 1, like all that death and destruction, because Higure ends up killing everyone. It's like, that's the danger of him. It's like he's already very fast. He's got over like 40 swords. If like, I don't know if he's collected any more since the last time we saw him, but when we saw him last, there was a conversation of he has like 43 blades on him or something like that. But all it takes is one single slice from them and you're dead, because I mean, it's no different from Kuze and his angel. There's no difference there, where that thing just like swipes you and you're dead. So it's like, how do you really fight against that? Especially when it's something you can't really see, or like it's unclear. Well, it seems like generally people can't see it, but we don't know. Like, once again, the visitors are on a whole other level, so who knows what they're fully capable of. But it's interesting because like Shulk is like, yo, Higure, like take out the other people, get one of the horses, and kind of report back, because you don't want to be here fighting Sojiro. Like, you won't be able to beat him, which is kind of interesting. I guess like Sojiro is a better swordsman. Like, he survived all of this stuff, sure, but Higure survived all the stuff that he's been through. But I guess when it comes to like raw swordsmanship skills, like he won't be able to beat someone who is well trained like Sojiro. So, but it also kind of made me wonder, like, is Shulk just as fast as Sojiro? Because we saw like how fast Sojiro can be, but also the argument could be like, yeah, he's that fast, but he still needs to build up that speed, and he can't really. There's not enough distance and runway to let him do what he did in episode 1. Like, either Shulk will be able to match him, or it's just like I said, he doesn't have enough space to build up the momentum. Like, because he had to build up to that supersonic speed in episode 1, so he can't just like immediately go like 0 to 60. He he probably could, but 0 to like 200, he'd have to build up to it. He'd have to rev up to it, essentially. It won't take long, but it's not something I guess he can do in the middle battle. Maybe that's, I don't know. Like I said, everything seemed like it was going more Shulk's way when we left off the fight, but Higure killed everyone else, and Yuno's left, and he's like, cool, I need you to transport me on this horse and take me back to Lithia. I can't do it because I don't know how to ride a horse. And Yuno's realizing, like, oh, he spared me. He killed everyone else. He needed one survivor, but he spared me because I'm the weakest one. And she's like, what's the point of even begging for my life? And so she rides off, and that's the last time we see. So when we hear from the Eurasia side of things, it's like, okay, like, everyone's dead. We saw no survivors. So we know Yuno ends up going to Lithia. So it's like, where, I guess Shulk won, maybe? So where is him and Sojiro? Did they take their battle elsewhere, or what exactly happened? Because Sojiro was all about going after Terran because that's the job he was hired to do. So did he go to Lithia regardless? Did he make him way there? Did Shulk defeat him and drag him back to Lithia? Because they didn't find his body there, so either the battle took place somewhere else, or like they just dragged his like deceased body, but most likely not dead. Who knows? Because Eurasia's got plenty else to deal with, because we have, was it Hargit and Hido were talking about what they're gonna do in conjunction with like the Wyverns, and Hido was kind of like, I've got my own plans, but Hargent was coming from the perspective of like, right, hunting wyverns and dragons and shit. That's my thing. I love that Hito was kind of throwing his like, weren't you the one that was on that dragon expedition? And because of your bullshit, it took too long. Like, basically, what happened in episode 5 with Kuze and Nihilo, it's like, he's like, it basically, it's in some shape or form, I don't know what the correlation is, but it seemed like he was drawing parallels between Hargent doing what he did. It kind of took away and it interfered, it inconvenienced him. So like everything that happened with Kuze and Nihilo in episode 5, them getting attacked by people from Lithia, like it's like because of you, like that ended up happening. So you ended up inconveniencing my transporter. So, which Kuze's got a job of his own. I forgot what Kuze's job actually is, because Hito's kind of throwing him into the frame. I guess he's supposed to have some role in this. The heavy hitter is Nihilo, because she's supposed to be the one that kind of deals with she's kind of like supposed to only go after the wyverns at first until given orders to wipe Lithia off the map. Because while they were talking, they got suddenly attacked. Because we find out that... So, Alice went to the Labyrinth of Naga at the end of episode 2 looking for something. The thing that had... I was like, oh, as we know, Sojiro beat it in episode 1. Turns out they were looking for something very specific, and that was the star thing. What was it called? It wasn't like the Star Stone or something. It was called the Star something. But I completely forgot about it until they were like, Lithia has it. I was like, how do you know Lithia has it? And I was like, right. That's the thing Dekai ended up giving to Terran closer to the beginning of like the first half of the episode. In the early parts of the first half of the episode, that's what he had given her, and we weren't sure what it was going to be used for. I'm assuming that's what the beam attack that hit Mage City was. And it's like, wow, she's willing to do this, even though like Mage City is supposed to be on good terms with Lithia. It's like either she knows like Mage City's more so sided with Horatia and she's making a point. Even Hida was like, wow, none of us expected Terran to fight so dirty. And I guess because she's generally considered to have such a honor system to her, that is like maybe when she was part of Horatia, she was very honorable. It's war, we're willing to do whatever, because Hidao was like, she's going to come up, she must have found her just cause. She'll use whatever, like, we've always been careful towing this line of avoiding war, but Terran was looking for any small justification to pop off. So I'm assuming all this stuff with Sojiro and, and that, is this the first time they've ever referred to what Ishura actually are? Ishura is the name of Lithian, Ratian soldiers, based on what that was saying during the little thing that popped up. I was like, is that the first time they've ever... Because I've saw the word Ishura used before, but I was like... I'd seen it like once before in like the recap, and I was like, wait, they're using that word. What is it supposed to mean? I'm like, oh, that's what their soldiers are called, Ishura? I guess. Interesting. Maybe that's what the... Because I don't know if that's a real Japanese word. I couldn't find anything on it, so maybe it does have a meaning and just like I just didn't look hard enough. I didn't see anything expressly saying what it actually meant, so it might just be like an in-universe word, or maybe there is a Japanese thing of like maybe it does mean like soldier or something in Japanese, and just I'm ignorant. I don't know Japanese that well. There's like certain little things I've picked up over the years in Japanese, but I don't know enough to really comment on that. So. But you have like Hargit deciding like, right, the citizens and our soldiers are going to be in danger. Are we really going to leave the citizenry to like, because it's like, hey, let's stand back in the fort and defend and hold this down, because his plan to deal with the wyverns is Nihilo. And he's like, we got to let that play out first and foremost. But the problem is Hargit's like, right, hunting down wyverns is my thing. You don't want me to bring my soldiers? Fine, keep them. I'm not going to sit on the sidelines. But even Hito's like, what do we do? Because he's like, right, if we don't do anything for the citizens, they're going to turn against our soldiers, and that's not going to be good in the grand scheme of things. They're going to actually chastise and lambast us for this. So he decides, like, trying to figure out what do I do, because his plan is like us doing it this way. All we have to do is hold down the fort, basically get them attacking us, focusing on us. They won't see us, blindside them. But it's like you got to weigh those options, because Hidao's like, if we kind of worry about the citizens and stuff, I don't know if he's saying in general this battle isn't something we can necessarily win, and he was just lying to Hargit saying we can win this, or he's specifically referencing if we help the citizens, then the citizens, then I'm not guaranteed we'd win. Whereas the other route, it's a more likely win. Who knows? But yeah, Nihilo, we finally see her kind of, well, we don't see her really in action. We got a little bit in like episode 5, but this episode we see her kind of hook up to her mech, what is kind of her weapon. We also found out what her motivation is. She's hoping that when this is all said and done, Hidao will be able to put in a word and have her officially recognized as a minion. So it's like, oh, that's what she wants to have, like, because he's like, if you do this, no one will be able to refute my positioning you as a minion. And it's like she wants to go to school. She wants to be a normal human because she's been a weapon for probably her entire life, maybe, and she's considered a weapon. But it's like, if I'm able to be registered as a minion, there will be no one ever to like denounce me. Like I will, because she doesn't have rights. They can do whatever they want to because she's not legally viewed as a minion. So, but yeah, it's interesting to know that's her motivation. I guess it's no different. Like in classic storytelling, she's a little bit of a Pinocchio and just wants to be a real person. But yeah, we have, what was it, Heliton? I'm butchering its name, but her tarantula mech that she literally hooks up to, and it's like, oh, it's been a while, and she considers that her real body. I guess like her body as it is now, it's like, oh, this is my fleshy brain, and this is me hooked up to what is originally my body, this weapon, this tarantula. So we didn't really get to see it in action, but it's been deployed. So I'm also curious, what is Alice's part going to be in all of this? Because Lithia ended up stealing the star from him, he's going to want it. And that was Hargit's whole point, that, Alice would be here. But, because he's like, yeah, he's going to have beef with Lithia, but he'll get rid of us for being in the way too. Like, he doesn't appreciate anyone stealing some treasure that he wants. So, because he's wanted to... Oh, I think so far, I was about to say, he's the only character we haven't circled back to the fold into all of this currently, because obviously bringing Hargit back this episode, but I'm assuming we'd see Alice pop up maybe in the next episode since they brought him up, and considering like he's going to want that star that Terran currently has, so it's definitely going to be really, really interesting to see where all of this ends up taking us. Once again, I love that, like I said, this back half of the season, it's like, once again, a lot of I've enjoyed it, but a lot of the first half of the season is mostly set up, and now it's all kind of paying dividends, and it's like, yeah, shit's colliding and clashing, at least like of the characters we've set up. It's going to be interesting to see where like the story trajectory goes from here. And what roles everyone plays, who clashes with who, what lines in the sands have been fully drawn. Because I was about to say, like, because most of the people we've met so far have mainly been on the Eurasia side of things. Because Lana's on the Eurasia side of things. Shulk and obviously Higure are working with Lithia because of Terran. And Dekai's on Terran's side. So, but Sojiro was on Eurasia's side. Kuze's on Eurasia's side, him and his angel. Nihilo's on their side. Kia is technically speaking on their side as well. So, and Lana, as we found out last episode. So it's like more of the characters we've been introduced to are on Eurasia's side. So the balance isn't fully there, but it's like we might not need the balance in the grand scheme of things. We'll ultimately have to wait to see where the next episode takes us. I'm very, very excited to see where it ultimately ends up taking us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.